So, just share the link. We are live. Hello guys, welcome. I also needed to change that thumbnail, but that's okay. I'll do it after the stream because I think it's fine to do it like this. Okay, let's do live. Okay, so we're doing a new series called Diving Deep. And basically, this is where we're gonna be diving deep into accused, PDFs, convicted. Whether they are convicted or accused, we're gonna go look at them, the court cases, the actual things that happened, and we're gonna dive deep and kind of talk about it, and bring awareness to the cases as well. For this, I decided to go with Drake Bell as the first kind of test because, well, it is the current topic right now, and I also do think that it's important in discussing the cycle of ABUSE. So we're going to read this from this article. This article, I think, covers basically everything, but we'll also actually watch like the testimonies and everything. But this article is one that actually Alexa had kind of brought up a little bit, didn't really dive into, but this was something that she had brought up in the video where she was explaining why she had deleted the Drake Bell video. Also, why the heck is this happening? I think it's just it might be too bright. Okay, I'm just gonna that should be fine. Okay. Oh wait, actually, I think I need to move. Myself just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so let's read the article and then we'll get into the actual court case, the videos that were covered by Law and Order. Alright, here we go. Also, trigger warning, this might contain well, we're talking about ABUSE, so just trigger warning in general. Before we get into it. Okay. This is from Kat Denbarge and Deja Tolentino. Supporters of former Nickelodeon star Drake Bell have rallied behind him after he came forward with his child sexual abuse story in an explosive docuseries. But some people have gone to extremes, harassing women who previously shared their own abuse allegations against Bell. Who pleaded guilty to attempted child endangerment in 2021. In the wake of Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, dozens of TikTok videos have been published discussing the child endangerment case, casting doubt on the alleged victim's claims of ABUSE against Bell. Some have received millions of views. Some commenters under the videos called the victim in the case a liar, comparing her to the actor Amber Heard, who was similarly attacked online for her claims of ABUSE, and speculating that she was hired by Bell's convicted dear God and speculating that she was hired by Bell's convicted ABUSE-er Brian Peck to destroy him. Peck didn't respond to a request for comment. Jeez. Okay. Melissa Lingefeld, Bell's ex-partner, who separately accused the actor in 2020 of physical and emotional abuse, which he denied, shared on her Instagram stories last week that she had received harassment from his fans. Sorry. I'm just going to pull up the comments on my phone because I can't read them right now. There we go. Okay, now I can see the comments. Anyways, where was I? Oh, yeah. So, Melissa shared on her Instagram stories last week that she had received harassment from his fans after the docuseries debuted. A representative for Bell declined to comment. The attacks on Bell's accusers fit into a larger pattern of social media being used to harass, demean, and discredit female victims of sexual violence and abuse. In Bell's case, experts who study gender and psychology said that onlookers often struggle to recognize that a perpetrator can also have been a victim, even though perpetrators have often been victimized in the past. In our culture, we just want people to be good or evil, said Corrine, I don't know what that name is, a University at Buffalo professor who authored Framing the Our Victim, Gender and Agency Reconsidered. She said that in the search for the good or bad person in a nuanced scenario, oftentimes more harm than good is done. I agree with that, actually. Quiet on Set has ushered in a tsunami of online reactions over the treatment of child stars, writers, and crew on Nickelodeon sets. The docuseries focused on the toxic environment that producer Dan Schneider allegedly fostered on his shows. Facing my past behaviors, some of which are embarrassing and that I regret, and I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology, Schneider recently said in a YouTube video responding to the docuseries. In a statement previously shared with NBC News, a Nickelodeon spokesperson said, though we cannot corroborate or negate allegations of behaviors from productions decades ago, Nickelodeon, as a matter of policy, investigates all formal complaints as part of our commitment to fostering a safe and professional workplace environment free of harassment or other kinds of inappropriate conduct. Well, apparently they need to investigate better. Or hire new lawyers, or whoever is doing the investigations. Our highest priority are the well-beings and best interests, not just of our employees, casts, and crew, but of all children, and we have adopted numerous safeguards over the years to help ensure we are living up to our own high standards and the expectations of our audience. The internet particularly seized on the allegations of child SA that Bell made against Nickelodeon dialogue coach Peck. Peck pleaded a no contest to lewd and lascivious acts with a 14 or 15-year-old child. And, oh my god, I'm going to skip over that. He was sentenced to 16 months in prison. The minor, in this case, who previously identified as John Doe, is revealed to be Belle in the docuseries. Peck has not responded to the multiple requests for comment from NBC News. I wonder why. Following the docuseries release, some people have responded to Belle's experience by defending him against women who have accused him of sexual misconduct in the past. TikToks with as many as 8.4 million views claim that Belle was falsely accused during his 2021 court case. The viral videos show court footage of the anonymous female victim, and some even include her name. TikTok recommends suggested search terms at the bottom of many videos, and at least one of the recommended search terms about Belle's 2021 sentencing included the victim's real first name. Most of the court documents were sealed to protect her privacy. After NBC reached out, TikTok said it removed the search suggestion with a woman's real first name for violating its community guidelines. Wow, gee, thanks TikTok. Good job on that. Maybe do that first. Next time. Jeez. As a society, we have to hold people accountable for abuse of children as we should. Elizabeth J. Jeglick, professor of psychology at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. I've never heard of that college, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's a significant college or not. Said in an email, "It is hard sometimes to see the duality that hurt people can hurt people. However, both can be true. Someone who can have experienced child SA, and they can also engage in AB themselves." Belle pleaded guilty to felony attempted child endangerment and a misdemeanor charge of disseminating harmful material to a juvenile in 2021. He was sentenced to 2 years of probation. The victim, then a 15-year-old girl from Canada, shared an impact statement during Belle's sentencing hearing that year, alleging that Belle had groomed, SA'd, and sent SE messages to her when she was a minor. Belle has denied these claims. The victim filed a report at her home police department describing an incident between her and Belle in Cleveland in December 2017. According to the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, after investigating, Cleveland police determined that the teen had established a relationship with Belle several years prior and attended his concert in December 2017. While there, Belle violated his duty of care and in doing so created a risk of harm to the victim. The CC prosecutor's office said investigators also said that Belle sent the teen inappropriate social media messages. Belle's defense attorney said during the sentencing hearing that the messages had included discussion because they had known each other for years, and there were claims that became sexual in nature. When Belle and the victim discussed her age, His defense attorney said, at the point he said, "Can you hurry up?" which shows a complete intent not to engage a minor. What? Hang on. Do we see the problem there? We see the problem there, right? Hurry up? What do you mean? No intent. Hurry up. We'll discuss it after we finish reading the article. I don't want to go on to like a 5-hour rant before finishing, because we still have like the videos to watch it as well. But I think we all see the problem there. We don't have to spell it out. He pled to attempt to endangering children and disseminating matter harmful to juveniles. Judge Timothy McCormick said during that hearing, "These are serious allegations, but they do not involve SR. However, a grown man does not engage in inappropriate text messages to a teen. There's a reason a 14 or 15-year-old does not have the right to drive, does not have the right to vote, does not have the right to serve in the armed forces. They don't have the emotional or mental maturity to properly engage their conduct. So you did take advantage in that regard of somebody who could not appreciate the consequences of the relationship." In a TikTok with more than 600,000 views, a creator said Bell didn't SA any minors and claimed that it was proven in court that the anonymous woman in the 2021 case lied about her age and stalked Bell. These allegations didn't come up during Bell's sentencing hearing, which was recorded and made public. Bell's defense attorney said that Bell may not have known that the victim's real age at the start of their relationship, but he did learn of the age at a later time. The TikTok echoed some of the talking points from Bell's statement on the case on Instagram in 2021. Bell said in the statement that he was not aware of the victim's age when he was in contact with her. Commenters under the video began bringing up Bell's ex-partner Lingenfeld's accusations of abuse against him, seemingly to indicate a pattern of behavior. Bell responded to one person discussing allegations from his TikTok account, saying, "Never went to court for this. This was a complete lie. This never went anywhere." In August 2020, Lingefeld came forward with emotional and physical abuse allegations against Bell that she shared in a TikTok, which has since been deleted. Lingefeld, a music artist who goes by the stage name Jimmy Ono, and Bell started dating from 2006 to 2009, beginning when she was 16 and he was 20. She told the Daily Beast that Bell physically aided her on multiple occasions, including dragging her. Oh my god, I'm not gonna read that. It's pretty graphic. Bell previously denied Lingenfeld's allegations. She didn't respond to a request for comment sent from NBC News. In late March, Lingenfeld shared a screenshot of a direct message she received on Instagram from someone who watched Quiet on Set. The sender, who appeared to be a woman, called Lingenfeld sexist names and suggested she perform an SA act on Nickelodeon producer Schneider. Although internet users condemned Schneider, Bell acknowledged him in the series as the only person at Nickelodeon who supported him from his experience with Peck. I know you're still active. I remember you post your post about from 2020 about Drake. You should be absolutely, utterly, and disgracefully disgusted with yourself. The message to Lingenfeld said, "You're disgusting, and I hope you know people will rally on his side. You can't use him for your 7 seconds anymore." Lingenfeld shared a statement on Instagram in response. Sharing one's personal experiences of ABUSE can be a complex and challenging process, and it can potentially help raise awareness about the prevalence of abuse and the need for support and healing. However, it's crucial to remember that speaking out about one's own experiences does not automatically absolve someone of the responsibility for their harmful behavior towards others. Jeglick said that people often have strong negative reactions to stories of child SA, stemming from tremendous empathy and sympathy for survivors. As a result, people struggle to accept an abused person, especially someone who was abused as a child, as also being capable of perpetrating abuse. Jeglick noted that most survivors of child SA do not go on to abuse others. However, when we look at those who perpetrate SV, they disproportionately have histories of SA. She said, "While we do not know exactly what causes someone to SA others, it is generally believed that there is not a single cause, but rather multiple causes." Wow, that was really heavy. That was really heavy. Also surprising and shocking in some cases. And I don't know why we're still like, just ignore the green screen at this point. I think it's important that we actually look at the testimony from the victim. So I'm gonna again put out a trigger warning. This is going to be pretty heavy, so just keep that in mind. If you need a break, take a break. But it is important that we focus on the survivors and that we make sure that their stories are heard and not just focus on the one who did it. So, this is the Drake Bell victim gives emotional impact statement. I think this is the full testimony, but if not, we can probably find it very easily. But let's just see what she has to say.
I chose to write this statement because I want justice to be served more than anything. The only time that the defendant has appeared in court in person was on June 3rd for his arraignment, which was before the media found out about this case. He has appeared in court today over Zoom instead of appearing in person. This doesn't surprise me and shows what a coward he is. But I am not a coward, and that is why I'm going to reveal all of the details of the crimes that he committed against me. The only other time that the defendant sexually assaulted me was in October of 2017. It happened in Illinois in the middle of the night. He digitally penetrated me in the back seat of my aunt's car while she was driving him to a friend's house. Another instance of creepy behavior happened when I was spending time with him at the age of 14. He told me that he couldn't believe how much I'd grown since he last saw me. He said that I wasn't little anymore, and I was, quote, a woman now. Not too long after that, his messages to me became blatantly sexual. This eventually led to many months of inappropriate messages and photos being exchanged over Instagram and Snapchat. The photos exchanged included photos of my body and photos of his body and his genitals. In the beginning, I was excited. I thought that he really liked me, and I thought that I meant something to him. But that didn't last. He made me cry. If I didn't give him what he wanted, he was spiteful. It made me feel guilty. He made me feel disgusting and absolutely awful about myself. At that point, it was clear that he was the one who was in control. A tremendous amount of stress and shame, crimes that he committed against me in Cleveland. I want to make something very clear. The reason that these particular incidents did not result any further than oral sex was because the defendant knew that I was menstruating at the time. Had I not been menstruating then, he would have raped me. Don't look at me like that. Because he would tell me how badly he wanted to penetrate me vaginally, but used much more vulgar language. I felt so miserable, broken, and humiliated. I was struggling to sleep every night. The sexual messages continued for a while after that, until I eventually put a stop to them. I did that by confronting him about what he had done to me. His crimes are not heartbreaking, or whatever other loose term he uses. They are disgusting. He didn't care then, and he doesn't care now. That makes me feel worthless.
All right, that was a victim impact statement from yesterday.
Right.
The sentencing.
Well, okay, that was. This is actually the whole sentencing, actually. I think we should actually probably watch that as well.
Right. Case number 659324. State of Ohio versus Jared Bell.
Voice. Okay.
Defendant is appearing by Zoom. Present in the courtroom are his attorneys.
Served more than anything. The only time, because I was and claimed that wasn't her. He's in. But I can assure you of that. He committed these crimes against me with pride. A defendant who clearly feels no remorse for his crimes deserves to be given the maximum sentence possible. I will never forget what he did to me. I idolized and looked up to him, and he took that and broke it in the most sickening way possible. He is the epitome of evil. I deserved better than to be used for his sick desires and for my suffering to be used for his amusement. Jared Drake Bell is a pedophile, and that is his legacy. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything further on behalf of the state? On behalf of the defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. First, before I really get into the sentencing, I would like to recognize and acknowledge the professionalism that was shown by my colleague Kevin Bringman and his supervisor Jennifer Driscoll in allowing us to really process this case over a long period of time. While the case seems that it went so quickly from arraignment to plea to sentencing, it's because the work was done on the front. And I do appreciate their working with us to effectuate that. You know, there's no question that Drake has accepted his responsibility in this case by the way of his plea. He has pled to the felony of the 4th degree, attempted child endangerment, and a misdemeanor disseminating, neither of which require any sexual registration.
That's actually wanted to look at what that actually means.
The felony of the 4th degree.
So let's see what he pled guilty to.
Working with us to effectuate that. You know, there's no question that Drake has accepted his responsibility in this case by the way of his plea. He has pled to the felony of the 4th degree, attempted child endangerment, and a misdemeanor disseminating, neither of which require any sexual registration. The chat that was referred to by Prosecutor Bringman.
Okay. 4th degree child abuse. This is basically, I think, what he was accused of. I mean, what he pled guilty to. Let me see. Okay, so 4th degree child abuse. Just so we're clear on what he pled guilty to. According to MCL 750.136B7, a person shall be guilty of 4th degree A person should be guilty of 4th degree CA if the person's reckless act of omission results in physical harm to a child, the person knowingly engages in conduct that poses an unreasonable risk of physical harm to a minor, regardless of whether harm results from their conduct. 4th degree CA definitions: omission, as defined under MCL, refers to willful failure to provide a child with food, shelter. Okay, so they're basically like child neglect. Physical harm, as defined under MCL, means an injury inflicted on a physical condition that impacts the child's physical health. And then C, child, refers to a person aged below 18 and is legally under the control of a parent or guardian. Okay. The crime of 4th degree CA is the only CA offense that has no requirement that the act is intentionally directed at the child. The only requirement is that the conduct indicates recklessness or unreasonable risk of harm to a minor. While the charge of 4th degree CA is the least severe form of CA, it can still result in jail time upon conviction, which he was sentenced to 2 years? Yeah, I think 2 years in jail. I think it was 2 years. I don't know. We'll see. A second time and consequent to... Okay. So, yes, it does not require you to be under the registry. You don't have to register as one.
Was the dissemination, and that did create a risk of harm to then minor, now adult. And I think we're just going by initials, SG, in this case. If not, it doesn't matter. Names, you want victim or SG? Doesn't matter, but I'll leave it to you. Victim. All right. For prosecutors asked that I just refer to this person as victim, so I will do that for purposes of this hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, there have been a lot of claims that were made by the victim here, and it's not often, or can I even recall an instance where defense counsel at sentencing had to address the credibility of the victim's allegations at sentencing. But this appears to be that time. I will simply say this, some of these claims that were made about sending photos of genitals, we went through these claims with the prosecutor's office for a long time, approximately 18 months. No such image was presented, either to the state or to the defense. The claim that he is a pedophile lacks any sort of factual support from the case, and it also lacks any sort of mental health claim. It's an easy tag to give someone, but doesn't fit in this case. Clearly, the victim in this case, and again, it's difficult because it's hard for me to walk the very fine line in this case between what he did and what he's being accused of doing. That which he accepted responsibility for and that which he would never accept responsibility for.
Let me ask you, what is he accepting responsibility for?
So the acceptance of the responsibility, Your Honor, is for chats that...
Somebody give this guy, this judge, a cough drop, please. I know this is during the pandemic, but oh my god. He needs one.
Occurred between he and the victim.
What was the subject matter of the chats?
The subject matter of those chats were going, well, there's a lot to it. So
where are the actual text messages? Like, can we see them? I'm kind of curious, actually. I don't know if there's a way to find them, but let's see. Let me get this off. Okay. Where are the text messages? Like, did those come out? I guess they probably weren't published, were they? I'm just curious what the messages actually like are, because I mean, clearly there was a record of them, because it was put in for like evidence or whatever. Because I mean, okay. There's a lot to kind of delve into, but I just want to see if we can see like anything that has to do with the actual like text messages. I mean, I assume that those wouldn't be necessarily published to the public, but it would be something that would be in like discovery that they would have to go through. But I think because here's the thing, because he pled guilty, it means that we don't get to see those text messages. That's an important thing to realize, that when someone pleads guilty, there's no like evidence that is presented to the court because they are pleading guilty. Sometimes there's just the testimony of what did or didn't happen from the defendant and from the prosecutor, which does show a reason why you would want to plead guilty if something did happen. That way you can control the narrative of what did or did not happen. Also because the evidence will be sealed for the protection of her as well. So it's not necessarily something that will be a public record. I do know that there are behind the scenes stories. I don't know the validity of them, but I have read and watched like things regarding Drake Bell. Like apparently, well, actually I won't get into that quite yet. Actually, let's go into Alexa's video and see, because she did, well, actually no, I don't really want to do that, never mind. Let's actually see the response that he gave, because remember how weird this was? Okay. I don't, just, hang on. There's gotta be a way to, like, fix this so it stops kind of, like, I think maybe if I just rekey it, hang on. I think it's just a little bit off. Okay, let's see. Okay, that should probably fix it, I think. Okay. I think also we might look at, I think Sloan has covered it a lot. Oh, wait, I think that's probably where we can actually kind of see what's going on. So, let's actually see Sloan's video. He does pretty good research.
Attempted endangering children, felony of the 4th degree.
Guilty.
How do you plead to count 2, disseminating matter harmful to juveniles, 1st degree misdemeanor?
Guilty.
Let the record reflect defendant has pled guilty. The court accepts that plea. Defendant was made knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently.
So Drake Bell is a former Nickelodeon actor who you guys may recognize from the show Drake and Josh, which is huge because he had a television show named after himself at that age. He was also featured on The Amanda Show, and he's been featured on my channel a couple of times. This is because Drake has gotten himself into some legal trouble with a minor in the Midwest, but she's from Canada. If you guys need to get caught up, then definitely go and check out my previous videos because Drake was super unhappy with my content. He also tried reaching out to me when I went to LA last year for a Free Britney rally, and I made a video talking about that. And this is kind of a part 2, so I will link that initial video below, so you guys should go watch it, get caught up, because this is what happened after I posted that video. So let's get into it. So we're jumping right into this. If you guys watched the previous video, you would see back in September, Drake messaged me and he called me Michael because my name is Michael. And he wrote, "Hi Michael, Drake Bell here," which his name is Jared, so should we call him Jared? He wrote, "Drake Bell here, let me know when you're free to chat." This is after he's already messaged me on Instagram and on Twitter, which I talked about in that video. Then I posted my video in October, and he wrote to me, "How is asking to chat intimidating? Honestly, I just want to have a conversation with you. Why are you doing this? All I did was ask to speak to you," which, honestly, I would be down to talk to Drake now, like, now that I'm, like, you know, on the West Coast, and, like, I have a podcast studio, he has a podcast studio, like, where do you want to go? Like, let's meet, and, like, as long as the footage is guaranteed to go out, because I'm not going to go meet him, and then it's going to be buried. Like, we're going to have this for real. And then the next following day, he wrote, "I'm sorry if asking for a decent, respectful conversation is intimidating, then I am shockingly perplexed and confused," which I believe, like, shocking, isn't like shock, perplexed, and confused, like, almost like the same thing in one, but anyways, I just want to share this text message because what's really interesting is what his wife sent to me. So Drake has a wife named Janet, and they actually have a podcast called like the Drake and Janet Show or something. I believe that's what it's called. It's a play on Drake and Josh, which honestly, in my opinion, is a little bit cringe. I'm sorry, like maybe it's clever, maybe it's cringe. I think it's just whoever's viewing, and I appreciate that. We've got to have opinions. Like that's how the world works. But his wife sent me a text message when I posted that video, and the text message was like really, really bizarre. It's something that like I've been sure to hold on to.
I actually don't think this is actually what I
talk about this. I do want
this is also important too.
We get into this text message.
I would say the way that someone behaves after they've been accused of something can tell you a lot about the kind of person that they are. And I mean, Drake Bell is not a he's not a great guy. He's not one of those guys that is like shining knight or anything when he interacts with people. From what I've seen anyways. I also want to see maybe McIntyre did one. He's done a deep dive as well. Let's see what Adam actually has to say.
Hi, Muckers.
I'm curious.
Welcome
We're
back to
gonna
my
also
channel.
talk
I
about
hope
what
you're
I
all
think
doing
as
very,
well.
very well. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, so we are going to be getting into a little bit of Drake Bell lore today. Now, I wanted to do this because I made a video a couple days ago talking about the fact that Drake Bell is obviously very much so in the news right now with the Quiet on Set documentary, and that's great. He's being heard on his stories of his trauma from his childhood, and I think that that is very important. I think one thing that I've kind of been side-eyeing is that a lot of people are using Drake Bell being kind of, being lifted up right now as a way of disregarding the fact that Drake Bell also has a lot of allegations against him. He's also pled guilty to things. And
actually, wait, before we hear, before I would change my mind. Before we hear, like, Adam's or like, anyone else's opinion, let me actually just say what my opinion is. Just to get it out, just so that we don't end up with, like, crossed over, like, opinions or, yeah. To me, I don't know what did or didn't happen in terms of how far it went. In terms of, like, was there actually or was it just, like, text messages? Like, I have no idea. We have no idea. Okay. This will be up later anyways, so. But yeah, I have no idea what did or did not happen. This is a lot of, he said, she said, which is very common in these cases as well, because it's difficult to have evidence when there is a minor involved because of the implications and the images that might be shared, which would be kind of illegal to show, potentially. Like, if there were indeed exchanges of those images that she described, it wouldn't be able to be published because, obviously, disturbing content. We are still having problems with this green screen. Maybe I should just turn it off. I don't know. We'll try it. If it goes off again, I'll just turn off the green screen. It's important to understand that when you have a minor involved in a case, there are things that legally cannot come out, cannot be shown to the public, and oftentimes it is kept locked behind a vault, and the only people who see what actually happened are the the jury, the people, the things that the prosecutor would bring up, or the evidence, the defense, like those would be the only people who would really see these things unfold. And potentially, because it's a minor, they wouldn't necessarily see the full details, which is why we'll never really know what did or did not happen. I do think that there is a parallel between how people are reacting to Drake Bell's story about Brian Peck and how people are reacting to her story and her experience with Drake Bell, right? Because in the Quiet on Set documentary, Drake Bell talks about how he felt when he saw like 50 people on Brian Peck's side. And now we're seeing kind of with Drake Bell, a lot of people on Drake Bell's side and not too many people on her side. Now, you have the right to kind of form your own opinions, of course. But I think it also is important to recognize how harmful that also can be sometimes. I think it is important to understand like what he was convicted of and what he wasn't convicted of, right? There was no mention of charges in which he would have to register under law. But we could also argue that the law in which to get to the registry is very, very strict on who can actually go on to the registry, and in some cases you can even be taken off the registry after a certain amount of time, depending on the severity of the case and how frequently you've been accused of things, right? So at this point, Drake Bell hasn't been accused to the extent of being put on the list. He's not on the list. He's not on the registry. Any information regarding that is false, because there were stories reporting that Drake Bell was on the registry. He was never put on the registry. He was never convicted of any crimes. I am going to just turn this off because it's just distracting at this point. I think I don't know what's going on, but I'm getting distracted. There are laws in place to protect and prevent people from being put on the registry when they have not done something so far. However, those laws also protect people who have gone far enough to not also be put on the registry because they haven't gone that far, right? It's kind of like, yeah, they might, like, this is the kind of one of the problems, and it is difficult to solve because you can't know who is going to do what. It's impossible to know until they have actually done it. But it's like, this is kind of the problem where you have these like innocent looking guys, these guys that are portrayed as good to the public and everyone, and then it happens, right? Because Brian Peck also was not depicted as someone who was like evil or like a narcissist or someone who really did like disturbing things, other than maybe some questionable things on the shows. He was pretty much a clean slate before anything really happened, at least as far as we know. And what you'll find out is that oftentimes the people who are portrayed as good in the media aren't necessarily good. I mean, it's not necessarily that they've committed a crime, but sometimes the way media portrays people is mainly for them to gain money. Media is a for-profit business industry. So, of course, a lot of them are going to report on things in a positive light towards these people. because they think that's what you'll want to read. I mean, we'll also do a deep dive on like Weinstein and everything. That'll be something else to do. But let's just say, like, media tends to kind of do a boomerang, what I've noticed, right? So there's the court case, there's the accusation, there's the they are guilty, that goes around. They do the hit piece, and now suddenly, Drake Bell or whoever is like the worst person on the planet Earth, right? And then they wait a few years, and then suddenly they have this like redemption arc, or suddenly it's not this, it's not that, or they have something that where, oh, this is their comeback story. And this actually does happen. It's actually been happening with Weinstein. It's been happening with Kevin Spacey. It happens a lot, unfortunately, where enough time has passed to where no one remembers like the full details or anything, and so they think that it's safe for them to now come back into the media space, and now they can have more headlines and stories regarding them. Like now you see like Michael Jackson is getting a biopic and is going like, there are many cases in which like these people are accused of like heinous crimes, and then they just come right back, like in like a few years. Like, give it 10 years and they'll be back in the news. They'll be back in movies. They'll be back in shows and everything, even if they were convicted of harmful and heinous crimes. And I do believe in accountability and forgiveness at some point. Right? If someone is actively trying to do better, trying to be better, I do think that we should listen to them. Now, I do think there are some things that you can do where even if you do show signs of improvement, it doesn't matter, because there is a consequence to the actions, and there should be a consequence to the actions that you do. Right? It doesn't matter that Brian Peck joined the registry like 20 years ago. It matters that he did something so heinous that he is on the registry, and therefore he should not have a job in Hollywood ever again, or anywhere near kids in general, right? No one should have to work with a PDF, with a registered PDF, after they've been put on the list. They can work in construction, they can work, like, do bricklaying, they can do those things. The things that don't require engagement, they can do garbage collecting, they can do all of those jobs. There's a lot of jobs in which you don't have to talk to any child ever again. And those are the jobs for them. So if they want to still make an income, still make a life, like, yeah, you can do those things. But you should never have contact with a child ever again. The problem is that that's not how the law works right now. Not even close. Apparently, Hollywood gets an exception to doing background checks. They don't have to do background checks for everyone. Which is odd, because, like, for us, I mean, from every job that I've ever had, they've always done a background check. And I'm not in Hollywood. I'm not in any, like, up there job, right? I'm just in, like, retail or, like, restaurant or, like, common jobs that we have. Like, it's fresh out of college. Every single one had a background check. Whether I'm often engaging to kids or not, regardless of it, there's a background check. There's a background check. And it's weird that when you go up the scale, when you get to those better jobs, when you get to those positions of power, those positions in where it's very important because you're representing a large part of the company, not the cashier or the waitress or whatever you're doing, like not that, like I did a background check when I was a dishwasher, like not even engaging with people on the outside. Like they still did a background check. Like it's just kind of part of the hiring process. So even cases where, even jobs where you don't engage with people, you still have a background check. But the higher you go up the scale, the more you go up the scale, the less likely you have to do a background check. Why is that? Why is that? Why is the common people that have to do a background check in any job that they get employed, but the rich people, the ones who have made it, the wealthy people, they don't always have to do a background check? In fact, sometimes they don't even do an interview. They just get hired because someone knows a guy, and they don't even talk to them or see what their interests are or see if they align. They just get hired through their best friends or whoever. It's weird. It's weird. And it's disturbing as well. Because here's the way that the industry works. And this is just the industry, like every industry. Right? When your best friend makes it in Hollywood, he is more likely to hire the best friends. And he does not have to do any background checks, any checking, any history, because, he knows you. He knows you. So he hires you, he gets you involved in their team, and they're working together on these big projects that are like AAA projects. They are the ones that you all know. And there's no background checks, there's no checking, there's nothing. And you hire the people that you feel comfortable working with, you hire the people that are in your network, and you never have anyone question what you've done in the past. And you never have to do a background check, you never have to worry about someone figuring out that you've done weird things in the past. And you just build a company based off of that, and no one knows that you have done that in the past. A lot of these companies are built off of best friends and nepotism to the point where everyone from the ground, all the executives, all the top brass, they all know each other. And so when they do these internal investigations, when they do these quote unquote things, they're looking not to convict you, they're looking to see if your reputation can be disproven, right? And the testimony comes from the best friends who are like, hey, yeah, I worked with this guy, he never had any problems, never shown any issues, he's a great guy to work with. Performance reviews, they can be very biased. Now, I'm not saying this is how all companies work or how all Fortune 500 companies work, but that is generally how it works just in business in general. You hire your best friends, you hire the people that you know, and you don't question. You don't do background checks for your friends. Why would you? And this is probably an industry standard that is very strange, right? I think that one of the ways to make sure that this doesn't happen again is to impose basically a law in which it is required for the background checks to come from a third-party source. Someone not involved in the company, someone not involved in anything, comes from a third-party source in the U.S., so that they go by U.S. law, and they investigate every person within the company, including the CEO. because it's something that is very difficult to navigate otherwise, right? You can have these employees, and they could have gone through a background check, but maybe not a thorough one because it comes within the company, and they're looking like it's literally just their best friend, like Googling you. Like, I do believe that whenever there's a background check, it should come from a different person, not involved in the company. That way, there is no ties with anything. There's no your best friend vouching for you or anything like that. And when we hear about these cases, it is hard to say what did or did not happen. We don't know if the testimony that she gave was 100% true. We also don't know if whatever Drake Bell said was 100% true. We don't know what happened. None of us know. We can only go based on what we've heard and what we've seen. That being said, there are stories in the background about Drake Bell. I can't say or talk about it, but there are stories. And maybe they will go public, maybe they won't. But I will say, if they go public, it's not good. It's not going to be good. Because there's a lot of people who have been thinking about coming forward with their stories who haven't yet. A lot of survivors that have stayed quiet so far. But I do know that there is one accusation, which wouldn't be surprising, but it's that Drake Bell often visited colleges during his touring and his band, and he visited schools, and he would go around kissing people, fans of his. Now, it doesn't say that those people were underage or anything, but it does show that Drake Bell does have a tendency to use kind of his platform, his fame, his name to get with people. And I know people are going to say that 20 and 16 is not problematic, because there are countries that do believe that. I mean, that was the age gap between Selena Gomez and Drew Siegel, is that his name? In the Cinderella story, in the Cinderella movie that she did. That was the age gap. She was 16, he was like 20 something. So it does happen. You know, these age gaps are kind of normalized. And like I've said, I think the reason why the age matters most when they're minor is like when they're a teen, is because those are the ages where you change a lot. Like, just think about your teen years. Like, look back on it. Think about when you were 14 and then when you were 18. How much did you change? How much did you grow? I mean, not everyone is the same, but for the most part, you grew a lot. And yeah, they're only 4 years. But those 4 years are very important. They're very big because there's a lot changing. Not just bodily, but just mind-wise, brain-wise. Your mind is different when you are 18 than when you are 14, than when you are 15 and 16. Because those are the years where your brain, your mind, your hormones, everything sets into place and everything changes. There's a reason why 18 is generally the age of consent for all countries. Almost all, not really. But generally speaking, worldwide, 18 is recognized as the adult age. And there's a reason for that. And some would argue that it shouldn't even be 18, it should be 25. And the reason why it should be 25 is because your brain does not actually fully develop until you are 25. The prefrontal cortex. Look it up. But there's also the argument that maturity-wise, you are generally now sound. You know the rights and wrongs. You know, generally, psychologically, the impacts of your actions, of your relationships. That is why 18 is the legal age, because 18 is mature enough, your brain has matured enough to make decisions in which you can understand the overall effect of the decisions that you make. Whether you date this person or not, like, you understand what happens when you say yes and when you say no. That is why 18 is that age. And many believe that 18 is the age in which you are an adult. And yeah, you're still in your upper teen years. You still have 18 and 19 to go. But generally speaking, you are mature now. You've also, because you've likely finished puberty. Likely. And you've likely finished just growing in general. You stop growing generally at 18. There's still a few things that do change over time, but in general, you stop maturing. You stop growing. So that is why 18 is that age. And I think that's also why it's important to have sensitivity towards the teen years. You shouldn't just say, oh, she's only 16. It's not that big of a deal. Like, oh, she was only 17 and he was only like 20. Like, that's not too much of an age gap. And you're right. It's only 3 years. But 3 years is a very big difference when you're a teen in high school or in freshman college and you haven't yet done the adult things. And I think it's weird when we do minimalize, oh, she was only 17, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, she was only 16, she probably knew better. She probably, egged him on or something. Like, she probably did something. She probably was wearing something that was a little bit too revealing, or and some people were like, where are the text messages? Where are the receipts? How do we know that this even happened? But even with receipts, sometimes it doesn't even help. It doesn't even really change anything. We've seen time and time again that evidence doesn't really actually change how people feel. Like, in small ways, maybe. But generally, if you have already come up with a conclusion on how you feel about a case, you're going to support that side. Whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. And you're going to use the evidence to prove your case, your feelings about the case, not what is true or what is false. That is confirmation bias. It happens all the time. This is why that it's important to choose jury members that have not reached a conclusion yet, so that there's no bias between the jury and what they feel, how they feel about the case. Because oftentimes those cases can actually get thrown out because the jury was persuaded in one way or the other. And that's why you have appeals and everything. Like, there are cases where the jury really does truly matter and is the only deciding factor between whether you go to prison or not. And I do believe that there is an intent in pleading guilty from Drake Bell. when you plead guilty, you don't have to necessarily go through all the fine details and have the jury look at all the evidence that comes forward. When you plead guilty, you also are given a generally lesser sentence in general. Alright, you don't have to go through the years it would take and potentially the duration it would take to go through each case, and there's a reason why companies tend to settle out of court. Because when you go into actual legal discussions on what did or did not happen, there's a lot that comes out. And there's a lot that comes out that companies don't want to reveal sensitive information. Those NDAs are not valid in court. Well, not exactly anyways. You can't lock crucial evidence behind an NDA. Right? If it goes to court and there's evidence with it that might break the NDAs, well, now you don't necessarily have to listen to those NDAs because you're under testimony, under oath to tell the truth, regardless of whether you signed a contract or not, to discuss it. This is why subpoenas happen. Because, you might have a contract in which you cannot say anything. You're gonna lose your job if you do. That's what happened with Amber Heard and that guy. But when you're subpoenaed, it means that you, by law, have to tell the truth, regardless of the contracts that you signed. That is why a lot of cases end up in a plea guilty, no contest, nothing. Because they don't want that information going public. In any capacity. And yes, it would still be treated as John Doe, Jane Doe, if there's a minor involved. But there would be evidence that would be put in, and that would generally sway the jury in one way or not. So there is a lot of incentive in pleading guilty, in pleading no contest. And you do sometimes, it doesn't necessarily say that they did or did not. It just says that they knew that there was enough evidence in which they couldn't plead not guilty. But if they plead guilty, now they can control the narrative in which they've been found guilty of. And also, yes, by law, in many cases, the cases that involve minors have to be kept private. So I'm not surprised that we weren't able to see anything. I was just wondering if it kind of leaked on the internet, but I think in this case you kind of have to think about who these people are. We don't know who these people are. We know a little bit about Drake Bell and his tendencies, but we don't know a lot about her. But I do think that it's important to understand why she came forward in the first place. What did make her come forward? Why share her story? And likely because there was some validity in the truth. And you can argue that, Drake Bell is a public figure. He's very famous, Maybe she just wanted that 7 seconds of fame, right? Except for the fact that her identity is generally kept secret, anonymous. No one knows who she is or is supposed to know who she is. That's why it's very problematic that TikTok had her name legally there for everyone to see. That is a big problem. That's not good. It also shows you how cruel people can be when they think that they're anonymous, when they think they cannot be seen. It's a very big problem indeed. Because people think, no one's ever going to know who I am, so I can just say whatever I want to this person. Or they think, they'll never see it. They don't check their messages anyways. That's so funny when people send messages to people thinking that they won't see it. They send it at them, but they don't think that they're gonna ever read it. Like, what if they do? What then? What are you gonna do then? It's just really strange. Now, actually I don't necessarily want to play Adam's video, but I do want to say that, it's important to recognize that, not everything will be a clear case. That's just in general with the subject matter involved. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that won't surface. Survivors that won't come forward, or even details that won't ever be published. And you kind of do have to think about just the things that, how you would feel, actually. How you would feel when people react to your case, right? You went through the legal troubles and the issues with coming forward about it. How would you feel when people react to these in these ways? When people question your integrity? And I mean, yes, it can also have the opposite effect, in which someone who did not do something was accused of something that they absolutely did not do. It is very difficult to think about. Okay. We covered a lot about this case, so I think we are gonna end it soon. But my closing thoughts, and this is actually something that I've been thinking about in terms of what Alexa said in her video, or whether or not we owe anyone to make a video or do whatever. And I mean, you don't owe anyone, right? Just in general, no one owes anyone anything. But I do think that when you're the head of a movement, when you're trying to start a change, you do have some responsibility in the sense that it's important to make sure that you're not having those biases yourself, and that you're not falling victim to the cycle. I'm not saying that that is what Alexa has done or anything. Like, I respect her and everything. But it is important to acknowledge when even your peers may have done something. Even yourself may have done something. Accountability can go two ways. You can ask for accountability from someone else, but you also have to keep yourself accountable as well. I mean, yeah, your opinions are going to change, you're going to grow, you're going to change your mind on how you feel about things, but accountability isn't just about telling others that they have to be accountable. It's also making sure that you're accountable too. And what is accountability anyways? What is that? How are we held accountable? In this series of the diving deep, like, we're going to be looking at a lot of different people. And it's going to be important to make sure that as we go through everything, that we're doing it in the right way. That we're not pulling up like false or fake stories or blowing this up, but treating this information as very sensitive and important as well. It's hard to say a lot of the times what hasn't happened. But there's also a lot of cases in which the receipts are there and out there. Like, I think next episode we'll probably end up talking about Colleen Ballinger, because I do want to do a video on that as well. And that's going to have a lot of receipts. Lot of receipts. A lot of receipts. Oh my god. And eventually we'll get to Harvey Weinstein as well, and we'll get to Kevin Spacey, and we'll go through the list. There's unfortunately a very big list of things, people we need to deep dive in. Dan Schneider being one of them. Oh my god. That's gonna be like, when we get to like 1,000 subscribers, that'll be the 1,000 subscriber special. No, I'm kidding, but it will be difficult to kind of deep dive into Dan Schneider and everything that he's done, because it is a long list. But we'll go through it. We'll go through everyone at some point. So let me know down in the comments also as well, what you think of these cases. What are your opinions of this court case? How do you feel about it? Please don't bring up Alexa and her response. Like, that's not for this video. Just focus on the survivors. Focus on the actual story that we saw today. Don't bring Alexa into this, please. I've already seen it on Reddit and everything. Like, I understand everyone's opinion on that situation. I do have my own opinions about that. But I do want to make sure that these specific videos, these diving deep videos, we focus on the survivors. And we focus on the court case that is shown, not the everything else. It's also why I didn't end up showing the Alexa's like video, because I'm like, I don't want to get in there. I want this to be focused on the actual story and what happened, and making sure that the focus is that, not anything else that is going on in the scenes. So please, when we're talking about like all of these things, just focus on the story, not everything else that has happened. Please, thank you. Anyways, that'll be it for today. Thank you guys for watching. I am thinking about who we're gonna do next. I think it's gonna be Colleen, just because it's the most like relevant thing, the next relevant thing to talk about. But we'll go. There's a whole there's a whole can of worms to open up. But we'll go through them all. And if you have someone that you think that we should talk about, don't comment below. Go into the Discord and put it under the topic suggestions. There's a form, there's an area where you can put the topic suggestions, and you can put like a diving deep episode on fill in the blank. We might even have it planned already, so just yeah, leave it there. Don't put it in the comments. I mean, I'll still read it, but just so we can keep everything organized, keep it in the Discord. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I can't say I'm not excited to get into like this series and everything, but I am. I feel like this is the right next step to take in terms of highlighting survivors on this channel and making sure that the focus of everything, the movement that we're doing, everything is focused on the survivors. So thank you for those who watched. I'll leave the link to the video in the Discord, of course, like I always do. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.